Before we start this morning session, I request everyone to keep your phone on silent mode. Thank you. Tashdele and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizing committee, I'm delighted to welcome all of you to the second day of our festival, Spirit of Tibet, celebrating culture and compassion. My name is Tenzin Chiang and I'll be your host for today. Today, we have the great privilege of hosting a lecture on the art of happiness, Tibet Buddhist approaches and practices. This session will explore the profound teachings of Tibetan Buddhism and how they can help us cultivate genuine happiness and inner peace in our lives. To guide us through this enlightening journey, we have the honor of welcoming an extraordinary guest, a highly respected Tibetan Buddhist scholar and a remarkable leader, Venerable Professor Samdhong Rinpoche. Allow me to provide a brief introduction to our distinguished speaker. Venerable Professor Samdhong Rinpoche, born on November 5, 1937 in Chol, Eastern Tibet. He is a prominent Tibetan Buddhist scholar and the former Kalin Tripa of the Central Tibetan Administration. Recognized as the fifth Samdhong Rinpoche, he became a monk at the age of 7, trained at Drebung Monastery, and completed his studies at the Madhyamika School of Buddhism. He served in various educational roles, including principal of Central School for Tibetans in Dalhousie and director of the Central Institute of Higher Tibetan Studies in Varanasi. Rinpoche was also Speaker of the Tibetan Parliament in Exile and received numerous honors, including a national lectureship from the Indian Council of Philosophical Research. He later served as the Chancellor of Sanchi University of Buddhist Indic Studies and is highly regarded for his expertise in Buddhism and the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi. Rinpoche, we are honored to have you with us. I kindly request Rinpoche Lao to give a talk. Thank you.
관계 투쟁이 손에 더 담제 밤비실 담배 주는 던제베 고담들라 자살 메도디 깔보나자람 감비로다르 머다히 나만 사만타 바드리아 사만타 트시 In the audience, the venerable monks and nuns, my dear friend, ladies and gentlemen, it's something quite strange or accidental. I happen to be here to talk something about happiness. It was arranged in unawarely. Few weeks earlier, I was asked to join this festival and offer a talk. So without any yes, I was just waiting for you. इधर आइए, नमस्कार। Without much consideration, we have accepted, but later on, when I think over, the subject is happiness, and the medium of communication is English. So both of these are not very comfortable with me. I have nothing to share with you the secrets of the happiness, because I do not consider myself as a happy old man. I have not much reasons to feel happy. The precious human life, fortunately I got, is spent without much purpose. The whole life has been went away without any achievement which a human body can achieve, as the canon says. And therefore, no reasons to be happy. So therefore, what I can share with you, the art of happiness. It is a big word. Today, everything is divided into two groups: arts, science. The science is considered to be more accurate, and the art is considered to be something broadly under their approximation. The happiness comes from its own cause and conditions. There's not much to play the artistic role to make the happiness available to any individual. Nevertheless, since I accepted to entertain you this morning on this subject, then I did not dare to deny at later stage. But one thing I must tell you in the beginning, that I might be making you unhappy after this session. Not fulfill your expectations. And today, the greatest cause of unhappiness is not fulfilling the expectations, wants and desire. So, therefore, you may feel to come in search of happiness and go with the unhappiness that might be happened this morning. So for that, I must seek your forgiveness. Most of you might be aware that one scholar, Western scholar, MD, Howard C., have written two famous books with His Holiness, The Art of Happiness at Work, sometime in the 2003, and another book, I do not remember the dates, but the essence of happiness. 2000 maybe, yeah. So these books are become very popular, and in the Western words, bestseller. In the Western idea, the selling is very important, which might give some happiness to the sellers. I remember this story, which is mentioned in the book also. Mr. Howard, after a few years, met His Holiness, and with quite enthusiastically mentioned that the book is become for a long time bestseller in the New York Times. And he was expecting His Holiness might feel very happy. But His Holiness didn't notice about this statement, and he again repeated, it remained bestseller for 2 years. That is great. So His Holiness just ignored. Then he thought what he would say. After some time, he mentioned it helped many unhappy people. Then His Holiness says, oh, that is true. Then His Holiness showed some kind of response. So therefore, what I am trying to say is, each individual has a different way of achieving happiness. So today, in the postmodern civilization, sometimes I little hesitate to call it civilization, but it is called civilization. The entire humanity is converted from user of commodity to the consumer of commodity. A user is not productive, and consumer is very productive, its way of thinking. And in this way, the cause of happiness is considered to be to have everything more than needs, and able to consume as much as possible. That is also a source of happiness. And that is not artistic way to produce happiness, but it is an artificial method to project from thought process a kind of satisfaction or happiness temporarily, which again cause more greed and want, which surely to increase the unhappiness much more than the before. So this cycle is unending. That is the human situation today. We shall have to look at it very carefully, and if you are able to observe the life forces and through which we are cycling over and over again. So therefore, what I wish to emphasize for this morning's discussion if you are looking for happiness, that also not a temporary but sustainable happiness, and furthermore, real happiness should not become a cause of unhappiness. The three qualities or three aspects is necessary for a real happiness. To define happiness is difficult. Each religious tradition would define it differently, and each worldly approach will also have a different ways of define the nature of happiness. Anyhow, it is quite clear to everyone that happiness is a material thing. It is a mindset, mental attitude. Happiness and unhappiness is does not related with the feelings of physical body. A person in great discomfort and pain of bodily disease, yet she or he can remain in the mental state of happiness. That is possible. And at many other times, a person is bodily quite sound and there is no discomfort, yet the mind is passing through a great deal of turmoil and unhappiness. Therefore, any person who are in pursuit of happiness, this person shall have to inquire, search, what is the cause of unhappiness, and what is the not only the immediate cause, but the root cause of unhappiness, and then overcome to that unhappiness, shall have to do something to remove, if possible, if not possible, to remove entirely the cause of unhappiness, to subside, to reduce, to postpone, and finally to find remedy to the cause of unhappiness. Why I am saying this? It is in accordance with the Buddha's teaching. Buddha have talk about four fundamental principles. Whatever is created by cause and condition, that is impermanent. And whatever is contaminated by karmic force and negative emotions, that would be misery. Entire phenomenon is void of independent existence, and the nirvana alone is peace. Nirvana alone is peace refers that the sustainable and permanent nature of happiness is the eradication of the root cause of unhappiness, that is the ignorance, avidya. And to eradicate the root cause of unhappiness, the ignorance, you need the awakening of the inner wisdom or inner intelligence. For that, you need a concentrative mind. And for that, you also need physical discipline. So these three higher training in Buddhist terminology course, the Adi Shil, Adi Samadhi, and Adi Pragyan. That is spiritual journeying, because unless the root cause of unhappiness, the avidya, is eradicated with its seeds, the postponement or subsiding the immediate causes of unhappiness will never be able to bring a sustainable and everlasting happiness. So this is what the Buddha taught about happiness. Is not a set of emotion, but it is a cessation of all negative emotions. And therefore, it is not termed as a happiness or pleasure, but it is termed as peace, subsiding all kind of chattering, all kind of moving. So all things are being completely settled without any contamination, without any conditioning. So that is the real happiness. But it will take a long time to complete the journey, accumulation of virtues and arising the inner wisdom. So the Buddha talk about the timing of the journey. 3 uncountable years might take to doing this process. Therefore, people also need to achieve immediate or temporary measures of happiness. For that, a number of remedies are being taught in various sutras and tantras that mostly deal with the particular individuals in accordance their mindset and mental disposition. Different ways of method shall have to be adopted. Why I am saying this, that there is no kind of artistic way to produce miraculously happiness in the mind of people. His Holiness book is also refers to the art of happiness at work. That is the particular thing. Today, the majority of people are involved in one's livelihood, one's work. And the work is the source of happiness and unhappiness, temporarily. So, if happiness at work is able to achieve, that means the majority of the work-doing individuals can have happiness at work. That might help to the individual to enter into the spiritual path. Through that happiness, enter into spiritual path, going through the Shil, Samadhi and Pragya, then sustainable happiness of Nirvana can be achieved. It is a first aid sort of thing, preliminary stage, that also necessary. That will also help many people, because majority of the people does not know what is the peace of Nirvana, what is sustainable happiness, or the ultimate happiness, I may say so. But worldly happiness, this life's happiness, is also a great thing to achieve by individuals, because it is the nature of all sentient being. In a secular sense, people talk about equality of human beings, but the Buddhists always talk about equality of all sentient beings. Of course, human beings are equal, but apart from human beings, entire living beings are equal on three basic grounds. The first basic ground is each living creature wants happiness, does not want unhappiness. In this level, everyone is equal. A big body elephant or a small body just like ant and insects. Whosoever has a consciousness, they're looking for pleasure and comfort and happiness. And they don't want discomfort, misery, suffering, and unhappiness. This is by nature, it is not by training or by conditioning or by thought. Basic nature of the consciousness of every individual is the same. From the viewpoint of the right, in the modern vocabulary, right is very important. Each sentient being fundamentally have the right to pursue happiness and avoid or eradicate unhappiness. This right is also equal. And the third element of equality is the potential. Each individual sentient being, big or small, intelligent or not, in what form of body, the stream of consciousness have the potential to evolve, develop limitlessly until the Buddha nature. Whatever is a nature of conscience, subtle mindset, that will never end, its continuity will never end. It has no beginning, but it has the potential to achieve Buddha nature. So in these three, equality among all sentient beings, make the basic principle equality of all sentient beings. Now, from the individual viewpoint, an individual's approach to all other sentient beings must be a sense of equilibrium. We cannot differentiate someone is near, someone is far away, or someone is lovable and someone is not lovable. So all the sentient beings are equal to the viewpoint of every individual. So this equanimity is actually the understanding of the equanimity is equality is the basis on which happiness of oneself and happiness of all other sentient beings can be built up. So this is from broad viewpoint of the Buddhist followers in accordance with the teachings in the Paramita Sutra. Now, I'll try to touch a little bit the Shanti Deva's arguments, how to avoid temporary disturbances to the mind and to achieve a happy mindset in the day in, day out, ordinary worldly people's life. So as I mentioned before, we shall have to find out what is the immediate cause of my unhappiness. So it may differ from person to person, but broadly, the want, unfulfilled want, the fear, the anxiety, the jealous, the anger, and all this kind of negative emotions are the immediate cause of unhappiness and disturbances. And all these causes are, if you examine them thoroughly, there should not be a let cause unhappiness to you. There are various ways to make them a cause of happiness or cause of not even happiness. It may become cause to avoid unhappiness and achieve a neutral mind. So for this, Nagarjuna, Manjushri lineage to Shantideva has a number of arguments which are interesting and applicable to our everyday life. Shantideva says, why you are worrying? Kati chus yu na ne tila mega chechi. Kati chus me na tila mega chechi. I am quoting the Tibetan translation. Why you are worrying? There is some problem which causes the worry. Then he asks, the problem has any remedy or there is no remedy? You should examine problem you are facing has any remedy or there is no remedy. If you find there is remedy, then you do that remedy, and why should worry about it? Why should you be unhappy about it? Just do the remedy. If there is no remedy, then accept it. Then what is use of worry? The worry has no remedy, so it is only again a problem. So therefore, think about the remedy, and if you have a remedy, need not to be worried, and no remedy, no use to be worried. So this is a quite direct argument. For many people, it works. Acceptance of some kind of misery is also powerful cause to reduce the unhappiness in the mind. Then there again, the anger is one of the cause of unhappiness. Then Shantideva asks the angry person, why you are so angry to your opponent? Then that person says, he hit me and caused me injury and I feel pain, therefore I am angry to that person. Oh, that's so. Then injury is caused by the weapon. In the opponent's hand there's a stick, and which hits to your head and it causes injury, blood come out. So then you should be angry to that stick which causes the wound on your head. Then the person says, no, the stick did not come to my head voluntarily. It was the person who intentionally picked up that stick and hit to my head. Oh, in that case, the stick has no choice, but the person has picked it up and hit to your head. Then in that case, the person is also helpless, because the person is under the influence of anger to you. So then you should anger to his anger, not to the person. The person was at that time helpless. He was so under the influence of anger. Then you should examine the cause of anger. You might be cause of anger. You have to do something unacceptable to that person, and that causes the anger, and thereby he is under the influence of anger. So you should examine first the cause of anger, from where it begins. By this kind of examination, one can never deny that one is not in any way contribute the opponent's anger. The opponent's anger must be immediately or some different time or different part that might be caused by one's own. So this is the way to examine how hate, anger, violence begins, the root cause from where it starts. And we shall have to find out the real root cause and the real responsibility lies in which part. So this is a big argument. Then he also says, anger is a cause of discomfort. Fear is a cause of discomfort and unhappiness. Then bad people are so many. The whole world is full of undesirable, violent people. And how you can eliminate them? It is impossible to eliminate all the violent and bad people in order to achieve a peaceful mind. But the achievable, the possible way is just to eliminate your hate and anger that is within your hand. Then he gives metaphor. If you are not able to move on the jungle, there's so many thorns and rough things on the ground, and your bare feet to go there, it may be injured. To avoid this kind of injury, you cannot cover the entire ground by leather. And that much leather you will not find, and that much effort you cannot do. But a small 2 pieces of leather, just put under the shoe and put your feet, and you can go everywhere. So it is just like covering the whole ground by leather. So elimination of all cause of unhappiness on the outside you cannot do, but you can remit to your own mental disposition, your own discomfort, your own disagreement, your own anger or jealousy, that is within your control. So just like putting the shoe to your feet, so you should eliminate your anger. Once your anger is eliminated, the entire world has no enemy, no opponent. So all the opponents and enemies have been created by your own thought projection. So these are the basic fundamental ways to examine the cause of unhappiness and discomfort, and how to reduce and how to eliminate them. And then the one very important message or teaching given by Buddha is to differentiate the actor and the action. Ayadev has summed up it, Tuve Nyumu Darsi Nyumu Tandir Kansami. The Buddha have recognized the kleshas, the negative emotions, as enemy. But the Buddha did not recognize the person who having these negative emotions as enemy. They are all subject of loving kindness, which was very rightly interpreted and practiced by Mahatma Gandhi to hate the sin but love the sinner. पाप से घृणा करो, पापी को प्यार करो. This is the same teaching of Buddha, which is interpreted and practiced by Mahatma. We shall have to oppose a negative action, a violence action. Oppose means not counter violence or reacting in the same way. That means we shall have to reject it by a different way. By different way means someone is resorting into act of violence, then we think the act of violence is wrong, not correct, not positive. If it is not correct, then responding it by the same way, then oneself is also just following the same track, same position, then it is not a response. There is a fire which has to be extinguished. You should put something different in nature of the fire. Putting more fuel or putting more fire will not extinguish a fire. Something water or gas which is the opposite nature of the fire, that only can extinguish the fire. Violence can be encountered by non-violence. Hate can be encountered by love. Anger can be encountered by compassionate mind, because then this is opposite. The opposite is have the strength or the potential to eliminate or to dismantle, to just destroy the cause of all the negative things. At the same time, as I mentioned before, the actor has no freedom. The actor has no freedom. It is under the complete control or influence of his or her negative emotions. So therefore, how we shall have to react to such a actor to attack the cause of the wrong action, negative action, not the symptom treatment. Symptom treatment will not be make any remedy for the opposite person or for oneself. On the contrary, such reaction would increase the first nature of the violence act. So that's a quite simple logic, I think everybody can understand. Unless and until you oppose the negative action without compassionate mind to the actor, then you will not able to oppose the negative action in full measure, because you are become a party to the negative action with the actor. The same mindset is there. The actor is under the influence of anger, then you are also under the influence of anger, then you have no difference between the wrongdoer and yourself. And you are in the same position of the wrongdoer, then you cannot oppose effectively to the wrong action. It is quite simple. So these things are being argued by Shantidev from the Nagarjuna tradition. So having said that, I have dealt mostly with the hate and anger, and the similar cause of unhappiness is wants and desires and greed. In the majority of human life, the hate and the desire both are the cause of unhappiness. And in today's situation, the wants are more pervasive than the hate. In the consumeristic society, we have deprived of the freedom to understand, not only the freedom, the capacity, the wisdom to understand what is my need. Your needs are all decided by the producers, and you are being taught, or you are being indoctrinated, or you are being brainwashed to see that I need it without the real need is there, but artificial need is being imposed upon you. This is the loss of individual freedom. Gandhi was talking about Swaraj. Swaraj is the foundation of all positive things. Swaraj means self-rule. Self-rule does not mean self is ruling the others. Oneself is within the control of oneself. Self is ruling by oneself. And without giving, if I talk about in the political science vocabulary, one's sovereignty must not be surrendered to any other person's hand. One's sovereignty must be preserved, conserved by oneself, so that freedom of thinking and deciding, particularly recognizing oneself, who I am. Comparison, competition is the real instrument of brainwashing the present generation. We are not looking oneself inwardly. We always compare oneself with the neighbors and with other people and with other associates. And thereby one forgot one's own identity or one's own real personality, comparing with others. And secondly, what the others will say about me. If I do this, they may call me stupid. I do this, they may call me a coward. So this kind of what others will call me, that is a way to understand oneself. This is a great mistake within our education system, within our society, and by which conditioning our mind to dilute, look into oneself from one's own free mind. So therefore, we are not able to understand what is my need. So need is very different from what our greed is asking in this moment. Gandhi was a great thinker, I also appreciate. So he says, whatever is consuming more than one's own need, the person is consuming some other's share. That's very true. It is a kind of stealing or robbery. The entire planet Earth is capable of satisfying each single individual living on it. But the entire planet Earth does not have the potential to satisfy one person's greed. This is also said by Gandhi. And both of these two statements is very true. So unless you know your need and go with the need, needs are to be fulfilled. There's no way to be reduce or alter. The real needs are to be fulfilled, and it can be fulfilled quite easily. And above need, the greed should be within the control of one's own self. Living with the needs and fulfilling the needs through localized way of economy, that would be a real source of happiness for many people, but which need to be experimented. So that's a very true statement, I can say, from a experiential level. I will conclude my presentation just telling a real story which I have heard when I was in the Depot Monastery, and that gives a good example. In Depot Monastery, there was a house which called just near to my Kansen. Kansen means group. Pokan Kansen, there are two old monks just sitting in the sun over the terrace and drinking butter tea, very good butter tea. And these two monks are talking about. Buddha has said, there's no happiness in the sansar. Yes, in the sansar there's a lot of problem, lot of misery, that's true, but Buddha has overstated that there's no pleasure, no happiness. That is perhaps not to be taken verbatim in our technical terminology, netarth and nayarth. No happiness in the sansar. This statement is nayarth. It shall have to be interpreted. You see how happiness we are enjoying here. I have full of barley flour. It will sufficient to next 20 days. And then tea is there, butter is there, and sun is so good. And there's no problem. And after 20 days, the next semester will start and the new offers will come. And we are talking about criticizing very freely the Gadempotang government or the abbot's office. So this is the real happiness, and how Buddha can deny such experiential happiness. So that shows that the satisfaction of community, which is sufficient for the next 20 days, can give that monk a kind of real happiness. That means if that monk's want is for more 5-6 months, then he might not have this kind of satisfaction. So he's thinking of 20 days supply is there, so that can cause inner feeling of, in his own view, a kind of satisfaction. That means the limitation of want is the cause of happiness. Now the modern people says limitation of want is the hindrance to social economic development. So socio-economic development without developing anything within one's own mindset, that always leads to destruction and unsustainability. That shall have to be understood. Material growth, which is now termed as a development, is doing the two things simultaneously: growth and destruction. Each development has a side effect of destruction. For example, infrastructure development, which is causing the environmental destruction, the result is just before ourselves: the global warming, the climate change, the environment destruction, scarcity of clean water and air. All these are not a natural calamity. All these are human creation. Limitation of need, limitation of wants to remain with the real need, and an imagination of growth of everything unlimitedly, which have no use, no real use and sustainable use to oneself and to the world, which, if we examine it rationally, you will find there's no positive and solid reason to believe in the concept of such today's term of development. This danger is not unaware. Now all the scientific people are telling that the challenge we are facing. 3-4 years back, the United Nations has a long deliberation, and they have come up 17 point of SDG, they call it. SDG means Sustainable Development Goals. But a single point was being implemented by any nation. We are moving ahead a suicidal way, not unknowingly, but knowingly. We are aware of the future of the planet Earth, and which is not a kind of not a kind of just imagination. Scientifically, so-called scientifically, they have told us it is going to happen. And in spite of that, we are going ahead. So that is the dichotomy. We are looking for happiness, and we are accumulating and doing consciously the powerful cause of unhappiness and suffering. So this is the situation of the global community as well as the individuals. We all individuals are part to that. Of course, we may not be able to oppose or stop the move of the global community, but at least we individuals can dissociate from this kind of work. We may begin to start a life which is need-based, not a greed-based. So this is possible. My late friend Krishnamurti used to say, if we are not able to swim against the current, we can very well have to step out. If you are not able to swim the opposite side of the river, you can come out of the river. That is your freedom. But we are not willing to do that also. So, what I am trying to submit to you is, are we really looking for a happiness? That shall have to be examined. You have asked the art of happiness to talk about. Why we are talking about? Are we really looking for a happy future, or we are not looking for happy future? If really we are looking for the happy future of oneself and the entire humanity on this global earth, then we shall have to think more seriously, not only for ourselves, but coming generation. For the coming generation, we cannot leave the earth unlivable. So therefore, what we can do as individually, if anyone is really looking for the happiness for the future, remain the happiness for the coming generation, then we shall have to, each individual shall have to do something right from now. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Rinpoche, for enlightening teaching. We are deeply grateful for the insights you have shared with us today. Now I will take one question from the audience before we wrap up the question.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. We always find your scholarship, simplicity, calmness, and composure to be very inspiring. And when you were talking about morality, concentration, and wisdom, I completely agree with this formula, so to speak, to attain happiness. But my only issue is with morality. Would you say that there is a multicultural approach to morality? Because I find there is a tension between relative and absolute morality. So finally, would you say that morality is contextual? Thank you.
Kavirila, do it once, yeah.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. Just stupendous talk. I'm Professor Kavri Gill, and I'm teaching a course at my university right now, 4th iteration on secular ethics to graduates, all Indian students. Very open-minded, the younger generation is. But of course, as your talk sets out, the forces in every sense, from education, capitalism to society, is in the other direction. So So if you had to convey exactly what your talk has conveyed today to a younger generation, what are some key messages or ways to convey the importance of all that you are saying to them? Undergraduate, 19-year-olds.
Morality we shall have to divide a kind of universal morality and a cultural or spiritual tradition-based morality. In real sense, the morality cannot be based on culture or tradition basis. There must be a universal principle of morality. And in which sense there are two negative action group. The one is the negative action by its own nature. The other is negative action by traditional way of displaying. The traditional way of displaying, the morality may not be, the immorality may not be necessarily be a akushal karya. It is not allowed, and disrespect to the displaying, there is a negative thing, otherwise by its own nature, not negative thing. So morality in general, the universal morality, I think it should be agreeable to every spiritual tradition as well as cultural varieties, such as violence to living creature. Of course, there are certain traditions in which selectively acceptable violence action, and sometimes violence acts are also included into the spiritual practices, such as sacrificing animals to a part of ceremonial rituals or something like that. So therefore, by majority of the spiritual traditions, violence is immoral and no violence is moral. Violence and no violence, any act which directly, indirectly, remotely causes harm to any other sentient being, living being, is considered to be immoral. I think this larger principle should be accepted as a universal morality. If there are some differences, then that is debatable. We cannot accept it blanketly. Yes, you are right. I remember a long time back in 1997 in Chicago, the World Parliament of Religions were met after 100 years. And that was a huge gathering. All the religious tradition people and very high religious spiritual leaders are being assembled there. I was also there. And we set up a committee of about 60 people to draft a universal declaration of responsibilities. The UN has a universal declaration of human rights, but there's no declaration of human duties. So the Parliament of World Religion tried to make a declaration of human duties, but we are not able to reach to an all agreeable draft, and it remained unpublished until now. But majority of the well-established religious traditions, I don't think violence is acceptable. So the morality usually goes with the kushal or akushal, positive or negative karmic, which is decided by violence or no-violence. This should be agreed by majority of people. Then when should eat, when should not eat, what kind of things that can be eaten, what kind of things that cannot be eaten, so on and so forth. What kind of clothes have been used. These are not on the basis of kushal or akushal, on the basis of local kind of discipline. That can be varied, and that's not important. Not important in the part of morality. If we disrespect this kind of rule, it cannot be considered as immoral. But each cultural or each religious tradition, whatever may be interpreted, the basic point on which moral, immoral is defined must be violence or no-violence. I think that is the decisive division which should not be crossed. The second question, I don't have any message for the younger generation. We are now kind of, expiry date is over. So younger generation, they are wise enough because they are in the postmodern system, and in that, what I should say, awakening of their inner intelligence is in what state we do not know, because the artificial intelligence has taken its own responsibility, and the younger generation has a lesser burden to think about intelligently. Incidentally, I remember the Albert Einstein's remark. I fear the day the technology will surpass over human interaction. The world will have a generation of something. So Albert Einstein was considered to be a great scientist and wise people. So his a kind of diagnosis might become true. I appreciate him because he reached very near to Buddha's teaching of interdependence, Patitisamanapada, and he also able to appreciate the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi. There are very few scientists. So therefore, what he have given the message to the younger generation, I may also repeat it.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Now I request Mr. Sharab Vasila, Regional Field Director of the Tibet Fund, to kindly present our souvenirs to Samdhong Rinpoche as a token of our gratitude and appreciation for his participation in this festival. With this, we have come to our end of the session. We have prepared tea and snacks at the foyer, and please join us for the next event on the Great 14th Dalai Lama Contribution to World Peace. Thank you all once again.